Welcome back to Gerodynamics. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Another political video. I know. I'm gonna go see a movie today, so I'll be able to do a movie review on that. We'll get some more wrestling videos, some more magic videos, but for now, politics. All right. So Social Security, hot topic again. They're talking about saying that Trump plans on cutting Social Security, that sort of thing, right? Republicans want to cut Social Security. I think there's a lot of this is just kind of wordplay. I don't think anybody wants to just cut Social Security, like get rid of it. But it is going to go further and further towards insolvency unless we do something. And so let's do like a little look back in history. What was Social Security put in place for? Social Security was put in place to protect those specifically, not only, but specifically widows. Say you're a mother and you take care of the kids, and your husband is the breadwinner, and he goes off to war because World War II, and he passes away in the war, and then all of a sudden you're a widow, and the your only source of income has passed away. Um, and so that's the idea of Social Security, right? Something that will take care of those who weren't normally taking care of themselves, who were being taken care of. Um, or say that it doesn't have to be war. Say they're getting older, and the husband passes away, and she hasn't worked her whole life, so she can get Social Security. Kind of evolved into more of like a quote unquote retirement. It's not really a retirement, and that's part of the problem, but kind of like a retirement for people where they had money taken directly from their checks, and then they were able to pull that money out of Social Security when they hit a certain age. So people started treating it like their retirement. And this is across the board. Even that would have worked. Um, the problem is politicians, as usual, got greedy and started including the Social Security fund in the general fund. So the money that's coming in from your checks, right? You have money taken out of your checks. You have federal withholding, which becomes your the money that's being held by the government to pay your taxes. And then hopefully you had enough taken out, and so you don't owe at the end of the year, or you owe a little bit. But a lot of people get really excited about having huge refunds. This is another tangent, but people get really excited about having huge refunds of their withholding. It's like, wait a minute, that was your money that they were taking, and they took too much, and so they gave it back to you, and they don't have to start paying interest until after April 15th. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. Anyways, woo. But no, I get it. Most people are excited when they get their refunds because it's based on credits like the child tax credit and the earned income credit, which, they didn't have to earn. So that's a little different. That's why they get excited. But anyway, some people get excited about their withholding refunds. That's stupid. Make sure you don't have too much withholding taken out of your checks, but also make sure you have enough. Complicated. Anyways, withholding. But they also take out Social Security from your checks. It's supposed to go into the Social Security fund, and that's supposed to be your money being invested so that when you reach retirement age, what is it, 65 now, I think? And that's the argument, they want to increase it, or one of the arguments, they want to increase it. When you reach retirement age, you can take it back out and get Social Security to support yourself because you've retired, or, hit retirement age, whether you retire or not. So that's what that would have worked if they would have just not touched it, but they started taking it. And so what's happening now is the Social Security fund is me paying Social Security, that should be coming back to me when I retire is now going to the guy who is already retired because the government took the money and said, mine, and put it into the general fund to spend on whatever they felt like spending money on. Another quick tangent. Bill Clinton is praised oftentimes, especially by Democrats, but praised for balancing the budget and creating a surplus. So much so that when George Bush took office, he said, there's a surplus, and I'm going to refund it out to people in like $200 checks. Do you know why there was a surplus? Because the Social Security Fund, if the Social Security Fund had been left alone, there would have been no surplus. There would have been a deficit like usual, right? And they wouldn't have refunded out to people the Social Security Fund, basically. So, a couple of things. One, props to Bill Clinton on signing the budget that was passed by the Republicans in the Congress, that cut the spending and resulted in a surplus. Seriously, like honestly, like yes, that's a good thing. You know, it's the closest we've come to being in an actual surplus. It wasn't an actual surplus, but it was better than huge deficits that we've had ever since. Okay, so props to Clinton on that one a little bit, not too much. So keep in mind that, you know, if we left the Social Security Fund alone, it would be invested, and it would be increasing over time due to it being invested. If you think about stocks and you say, you know what, I'm going to buy this one stock, it's more like gambling. I mean, not exactly, because, you know, you can kind of give you can go in and you can see what the history of the stock is, or you can look at the different indicators in the market and that sort of thing. And you can say, you know, I have a pretty good idea this stock is going to go up, right? But you don't know for sure. So if you buy a stock, it's more like gambling. But if you buy all the stocks, right? Like not literally all of them, but you have a wide variety of stocks in, say, you know, something called, was it mutual fund, some sort of fund where it is a mix of different stocks, you are almost always going to make some money, some percentage. Very rarely do those sorts of funds collapse, and that's usually because people get greedy, or they, you know, do something nefarious, or they don't actually put your money in the fund and it's a Ponzi scheme, you know, that sort of thing. But say it's the government's Ponzi scheme. Social Security is government's Ponzi scheme. It is. Come on, just admit it. As it stands right now. Anyways, the government treats your money as a Ponzi scheme. But if it didn't, if it actually invested that money, there's almost no chance that your money wouldn't go up in value, because over the course of decades, right? You know, you start working when you're, let's say 20 years old, you start working. You should start working earlier, but let's just say 20 years old, and you retire at 60. That'd be even 5 years earlier. That's 40 years of compound interest on all the money that's being taken out of your account. Social Security would be paying out more like a actual, like 401k, or more like an actual investment. You would be doing so much better. But the politicians were too greedy and they took it. So now we're struggling to pay the minuscule amounts that we're paying back to people who've been paying into Social Security their whole life, talking about reducing benefits, talking about causing you to have to retire in, you know, 5 years later or whatever. All of those things are band-aids because politicians screwed things up as usual. We could fix this. It could be fixed. Um, it would be expensive to fix, but it could be fixed. But you have to, it's like all problems, putting the fix on, but not putting the band-aid on, but not fixing the problem is not a good idea, right? So say you go in and you say, look, we're going to keep Social Security, right? We are going to not increase the retirement age. Very unpopular thing to do, by the way, but it is something that a lot of Republicans are talking about. Um, but let's not increase the retirement age. Let's just say, hey, the real problem is that the Social Security fund needs to be invested, not part of the general fund. And then going forward, the it will not be insolvent. It will survive in the future going forward. If that was to happen, then we could right now go into the Social Security fund, and I mean we're going into debt anyways. We can take a huge, we could bail out Social Security basically. You go in, you put a large deposit into the Social Security fund that is going to pay for the current people who are retired, who've been paying into Social Security their whole life and are entitled to it. You pay into the fund, and then you don't touch it. The rest of the time, Social Security coming out of people's checks goes into the fund. It doesn't go into the general fund. And voila, you fixed Social Security. It's really not that hard. Um, and you wouldn't have to raise the retirement age. You wouldn't have to cut benefits. In fact, benefits would probably go up because you could do it based on the, instead of cost of living and making it so that people are getting the bare minimum to be able to survive, you can do it based on the how well the Social Security fund has done over the course of your life. You take a look at it, you say, this person's money has been in Social Security for 4 years. He's had a average rate of return of 7%. Let's say he's had an average rate of return of 7%, and so his money in the Social Security fund has is now worth this much. I've paid $1 million into Social Security. It's now worth $7 million. We are going to take that $7 million. We're going to divide it up over the course of, you're 60, so 30, 40 years, and then voila, that is how you survive for the rest of your life. Hopefully not just on Social Security, but even if it was, you could live on that, right? I think I'd have to do the math to see if that works. But anyways, um, I think that the Social Security fund could be saved, and you don't have to make anybody mad. You just have to fix it or make it go back to what it was. You could also give people the option to opt out of it. If someone is a millionaire billionaire, they shouldn't be getting Social Security, right? Well, let them opt out of it. Then you don't have to pay out to that person. Or if someone says, hey, you know what, thanks but no thanks, I'll invest this money myself. Okay, well then, opt out of it. um, but we have to hold them to it. You can't get to 60 years old and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I chose not to do Social Security, but I'm broke, so you got to take care of me. We got to figure something out for that. So I get the idea that opting out is kind of scary. Maybe do a percentage opt out. So these people are gonna get the bare minimum if they did. So say you could opt out at 50%. Well, if you opted out at 50%, you're not going to get the same amount in Social Security as someone who is 100% in Social Security. So you better really be thinking that you're going to invest that, in another type of investment. But there's ways to solve Social Security without really hurting people, and without making people mad. Like, why do we need to make people mad in this discussion? We I guarantee you, if you went to the American people and said, look, we're going to fix Social Security, but by fixing it, We mean the government's not going to steal it from you. How many people would support that? Almost 100%, other than government people. All right, everybody. Hopefully, you like this conversation. Let me know if you agree or you disagree. Come on, even for those who are Biden supporters, you got to agree with this one, right? Come on. You can hear my opinions. They're not going to hurt you. They're not going to hurt you. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good day.